Alrighty, so originally I was going to do this News of the Week episode yesterday, but I got home relatively late last night, so instead I have postponed it to doing this News of the Week episode first thing in the morning, and I decided to do it in the morning because I'm pretty sure there's not going to be some major news that is going to happen on Saturday morning or in general on the weekend as well, because usually the big news comes out in the middle of the week. The weekends, it definitely does get a little bit quiet in terms of the transfer rumors and signing, and for good reason, because this is usually where there's going to be games that is going to be happening, and we're going to have more Leagues Cup game today and also tomorrow. But before we talk about some of the big transfer signings and rumors that has happened in the past week, we first talk about the New England Revolution, and I have some bad news for a Revs fan, and I'm pretty sure Revs fans have already heard about this. The Massachusetts lawmaker have rejected the bill to advance the Revolution Stadium bill in Everett, and in part of that, they also rejected the economic bill that is part of the Revs new stadium bid in Everett. Now, the good news is I have heard that there's a rumor that there still could be a chance that this law is passed. It's actually currently stalled right now. It seems like I've heard there's a rumor saying that they're gonna hold a special session meeting to talk about this bill once again, and there could be a chance where they could still pass it. But obviously, this is a devastating news when it comes to the Revs' chance to build that stadium in Everett, and even the Kraft group basically said it too. They even made their statement after when this bill, of course, is rejected, and their hope that the state legislator will reconsider. And again, there could be a chance that they do so because I heard there's a report that they're going to hold a special session to do so. But yeah, again, just very frustrating if you're a Revs fan because just as you thought that finally they can build that soccer specific stadium, which is long overdue. I mean, it's pretty clear that the Revs have to move out of Gillette Stadium. Gillette Stadium is an MLS 1.0 stadium. It's a cavernous stadium that just it just looked bad nowadays with all these soccer specific stadiums that has popped around the league, and we'll see whether or not this bill will eventually be passed, and maybe they'll make some readjustment in terms of it because again, I do think that there's a lot of teams that have able to finally get past that deal of building MLS Stadium, but New England is one of the last team that aren't able to do so, and it'd be great to see that eventually they're able to do so. I mean, I even said it before. If NYCFC and if New York state legislator is able to pass a law to finally build that stadium in Queens, I don't know what is going on with the Massachusetts state legislature. That incompetent. Like if you are getting even more incompetent than the New York State legislative, then yeah, something tells me that says a lot about what's going on in the state of Massachusetts. And no, this is not just a way to burn the Massachusetts legislator. I've heard the fact that a lot of people from Boston hate the state government in Massachusetts, and maybe this is kind of one of the reason why that is the case. Now, moving on in terms of the next news, and speaking of New England, they also make some big news, not just in terms of the stadium bid, but also in terms of transfers. So, the big trade that happened in the past week is the Columbus Crew acquiring DeJuan Jones from the New England Revolution in exchange for Will Sands and 600,000 K general allocation money that will go to the New England Revolution. And as I'll talk about in a bit, it seems like they immediately look like they're going to reinvest that 600K general allocation money. But yeah, this is definitely a blockbuster trade, and in some way, I think a lot of people feel like New England got fleeced in terms of this deal because the caliber that DeJuan Jones is for New England. I mean, I never thought that he would move anywhere else. I thought he was going to be with the Reds throughout his career. He's been with that team for such a long time, but yeah, this is definitely a bit of a bombshell and kind of a surprising move. Though that being said, this feels like the old saying, the rich just get richer. That's kind of the case for the Columbus Crew. I mean, they've just got a guy that I think this is very similar to when they got Julian Gresso last summer from Vancouver, where they need a guy that can be a good wing back and that can push the line up forward to once again make the attack, which was already lethal this season, to be even more lethal. And this is kind of the case because DeJuan Jones does offer for that, especially during his time with the Revs. And again, the return that they got, they of course got Will Sands, who of course just came back from that torn ACL injury. He's been getting limited minutes because he's still trying to rehab and come back from this injury. And I think he could be a decent some player. But again, the 600,000 K general allocation money is what a lot of people are saying that New England got fleeced. They feel like that's a little bit too little to to sacrifice in terms of trading DeJuan Jones to the Columbus Crew. But yeah, we'll see how this deal, of course, would go. And especially, like I said, that 600,000 K general allocation money, and a little bit later, they look like they're already gonna maybe kind of find a replacement for Jones. Though I think it's mostly in terms of the center back position that they look like they're going to find a replacement. But another news that involving the New England Revolution is that they have signed winger Luca Lagoni for around $7 million from Boca Juniors. So this has been a news that we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks, and that it seems like finally the deal is done, and that they officially made him a DP signing. And again, that's another attacking DP that the New England Revolution have signed, and a guy that originally I thought he was going to be a direct replacement for Giacomo Veroni, but he's a guy that plays on the wing area, and that's not the same position that Veroni plays. So it looks like they're going to stick around with Veroni, and I think this season Veroni, although I still think his number doesn't justify the DP tag that he has, he's definitely better compared to what we saw last season. So yeah, it feels like maybe that was enough for them to keep him around, but also now adding another dynamic winger on that attack. And this attack, this season is kind of surprising how bad this attack is. There's a lot of good weapons on this attack, and I know injuries plays a big part of it. I mean, they've been missing their talisman Carlos Hill for a lot this season. He's been very injury prone, which is kind of a surprise because that was kind of the case even before he come to New England. They're hoping that this is a guy that will at least fill that hole to really inject life on this attack. Because again, New England, it feels like they know that this season is not a lost season yet. I've talked about this before with a lot of the Eastern Conference team that near the bottom of the standings. It doesn't mean it's a lost season for them, because it's the race for the playoffs is still relatively close, and everybody in the Eastern Conference are still within range to trying to get the last spot, or even the second to the last spot of the playoff race. Now, LAFC, they have acquired midfielder Lewis O'Brien on loan from Nottingham Forest. Now, I'm just kind of surprised the fact that when Lewis O'Brien was with DC decided to not either purchase him outright or extend that loan, because I thought he did a really good job doing his time with DC, and LAFC probably saw that, and they decided that they're going to be the latest team to try to get Lewis O'Brien on loan from Nottingham Forest. And again, it just adds more weapons to a midfield that is already pretty stacked. I don't know if he's gonna get regular minutes for the team. He might be a guy that just kind of come off the bench, but knowing how good he was doing his time with DC, I will not be surprised he could play into the starting role. And if he does play well for this LAFC team, we'll see whether or not LAFC will do something that DC didn't do, which is maybe think about purchasing him outright, or even extending his loans to another year from Nottingham Forest. Now, RSL, they have acquired Jermaine Brown off of, well, actually not off of free agency, but more off of the waiver wire. So Vancouver decided to put Jermaine Brown off the waivers, and RSL decided to claim him. He's a good utility player doing his time with the Whitecaps, and I think this is going to be the same thing for him being a good utility player for this stack RSL team. Now, moving on, in terms of now talk about some of the transfer rumors. So, as I mentioned, New England already made a blockbuster move earlier this week, and they're on point of making another blockbuster move next week as well. So, they're setting to trade Henry Kessler to St. Louis in exchange for Tim Parker and 600,000 general allocation money, and I believe that's the amount that St. Louis, of course, would get. New England doesn't get this amount, and again, that 600K general allocation money that they got from DeJuan Jones, it looks like it's instantly going to reinvest with Tim Parker. And as I said, I know I said it's kind of like a like to like replacement for DeJuan Jones. That's actually not true. This feels like it's more of a like to like replacement for Henry Kessler, and I think Tim Parker has done a good job doing his time with St. Louis, but we'll see whether or not if he's going to do well with New England. And the same goes for Henry Kessler too. In fact, I would say both of these guys that have been relatively decent for their team, they kind of haven't been that so, at least lately. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that dynamic is going to be with both of these players going on in opposite direction. And not to mention, it feels like St. Louis is definitely started to reshape their back line a little bit, because moving on in the next news, they're going to get a German defender Janis Horn on loan from FC Nuremberg. In fact, this signing actually is completed. So yeah, again, it feels like it's a reshaped backline for this St. Louis side, and they had to, because this defense for St. Louis, it's been bad this season, and it was bad in the second half of last season as well. So they're hoping that with them getting new backline with Henry Kessler and potentially Jonas Horn being there, it will at least stabilize this back line, and at least make sure that this defense just doesn't leak goals left and right. Because right now, this team could easily be one of the worst defensive team if it wasn't for Roman Burki bailing them out game in and game out. Now, RSL, they're also looking to bid young Czech attacking midfielder Pavel Sluk. I think that's how you pronounce. I might have just completely butchered that name, but yeah, I don't know too much about this kid. I don't know if he's a decent kind of player. I mean, knowing the fact that the last Pavel play or the last player that is named Pavel comes to the league, it was Pavel Buka, and he turns out to be very good for FC Cincinnati. Though we kind of knew that was the case, because he was playing with Victoria Pilsen, and that was a team that was in the Champions League. This is a guy that doesn't come for a more well known club. In I believe the Czech league. So we'll see whether or not this is a good signing. I mean, again, RSL, as much as I know their attack is really good this season, it feels like they do maybe need a number 10 player to back up Diego Luna, and also knowing the fact that there's been rumors that Diego Luna could be sold off, especially looks like Chivas is very heavily in interest in getting Diego Luna. It seems like maybe this is kind of the backup option, where if they do decide to cash in and sell Diego Luna, he's going to be the replacement for him, which is definitely going to be a tough replacement, because Diego Luna has been just everywhere for this RSL team this season. It feels like he just picked up where he left off in that playoff run, where he was a big part of RSL having a is well, I wouldn't say having a good playoff run, because they did get eliminated by Houston, but at least kind of kept it competitive in that game against the Houston Dynamo. Now, Inter Miami, they are set to sell Diego Gomez to Brighton for around $18 million. Now, this is not really new news, because we kind of knew that this, of course, was happening. But it feels like every time I mention this, it feels like the price has keep going up. And again, if this deal does complete, it is one of the biggest outbound transfer in MLS history, and it just kind of shows you that this is the beginning of Inter Miami. I know this is a team that has been well known for getting a lot of aging superstar player, and it just feels like it's kind of messy and friends. But this team does have some legitimate young talent with the team. And I mean, this feels like it's a team of mix of superstar player and guys that are just kind of young South American, especially young Argentine players mixed with up, that they can basically develop them and eventually sell them for a big amount of money. Diego Gomez is one of those guys that they, of course, bought and have developed him in a very good way, and it's no surprise that teams in the Premier League like Brighton is sniffing around. And of course, whenever you decide to sell a player to the Premier League, you're gonna have to jack up the prices, because Premier League team, they would bend over backwards in terms of paying a lot of money even for mediocre players. And yeah, again, if this deal does complete, this is a signal that Inter Miami has started this wheel of this decided to develop good young South American player and eventually sell them off for a big amount of money, something that a lot of MLS team is trying to replicate. Now, the Columbus Crew, they have rejected the deal to transfer Jason Russell Rowe, and I believe they said that there's a rumor that he was going to go to the Scottish Premiership, but the Columbus Crew says no, we're going to keep on uh, hold of Jason Russell Rowe. And this is not a big surprise, because we have seen before where players decided to go to the Scottish Premiership and it doesn't work out whatsoever. So I'm pretty sure Columbus saw that kind of pattern, and they said, "Nah, we're just gonna keep Jason Russell Rowe." I mean, he's probably one a guy that on any other given team, I think he could be a regular starter. It's just unfortunate that he is already in this very stacked kind of crew team that has so much depth in their attack. And also, I would not be surprised if there's going to be some teams that maybe looking to try to get Jason Russell Rowe. I mean, I know Columbus would want to help hold on to him for depth pieces, but again, this is a guy that on any other team he could be a regular starters, especially for teams that desperately need a number nine help. So yeah, we'll see how long they'll keep a hold of Jason Russell Rowe, because I know he himself, I know he's happy that he's on a winning team, but at the same time, he would love to go on a team that he gets more minutes so he can play into the Canadian national team. I mean, it's not easy to play into the Canadian national team as well in the position that he has, because that team also has some really good attacking power in the attack, and it's just kind of unfortunate that he plays in that same position as Kyle Larin uh, is with the Canadian national team, and also the same goes for Jonathan David. And now moving on into the last transfer rumor. So there's no complete agreement right now that is reported between Marco Royce and the LA Galaxy. So originally the plan was that they were going to unveil him this week, but now it seems like that they're pushing it to next week. I have no doubt that eventually this agreement will be made. I mean, everything seems like it's finalized. I mean, unless if there's going to be a crazy turn of an event, I think that Marco Royce will be a new player for the LA Galaxy. But it's all about reaching that final agreement. And once they do reach that final agreement, there's no doubt the Galaxy is going to announce Marco Royce as their new player, and maybe a designated player as well, because the amount that he's going to earn is probably going to be DP kind of money, and it's a bit of a risk too, because I know the caliber that Marco Royce can bring to this Galaxy team. Though I will say that it's kind of surprising that they decided to get him, because they're already pretty stacked in the attacking end. And is he going to be a guy that it'll be interesting to see who's he is going to be replacing, because when I look at this attack for the Galaxy, there's not really a lot of players that I would say that could easily be the guy that will be sacrificed so Marco Royce be on the pitch, because there's no doubt that he's going to be starting for this team. There's no way you decided to bring a guy, especially for a DP amount of money potentially, to just sit on the bench or coming off the bench. So that's going to be interesting to see how this is going to do in terms of the roster and the starting 11 that Greg Vanny is going to be do. But one thing for sure is that the Galaxy, they have endless weapons of attack right now. I mean, with how good their attack is, this is just adding more fuel to the already burning fire the Galaxy has this season on the attack. Now, Cucho Hernandez, he of course have named Player of the Month. Not a big surprise, because Cucho has been just red hot this season. He's also one of the reasons why the Crew has been continued to be the most lethal team on the attack, alongside with the LA Galaxy. And then this is something I already mentioned yesterday in the review of the Leeds Cup between the Timbers and the Colorado Rapids. And it's kind of sad to see, but Larry Marviola says that he will be stepping away from football to deal with mental health issue. Now, it's important to know that he didn't say that he has officially retired from his professional career. He's just saying that he's just kind of stepping away and taking an absence to leave as a sort. And obviously, when it comes to have to deal with mental health issue, I think anybody would respect that. I mean, mental health issue is a big thing, and that I again I'll reiterate what I said about yesterday to today's news of the week episode. People need to know that these players on the pitch, they're human just like us. They have feelings, and they do go through a period of their life where they just there's depression that can settle in you, especially when it comes to players that maybe get heavily criticized, and that it feels like the wall is kind of pushed within them that they just can't deal with anymore. And that kind of is the case for Mabiella too. I mean, I know he hasn't been really been the one of the more I wouldn't say well loved Timbers player, but more like one of the guy that has always get a lot of criticism because of the way that he plays. And you just feel like, yeah, I can't take it anymore. I need to have an leave of absence to deal with that. And yeah, I wish him the best. I really wish that he can and not only get some help, but also get through this and eventually make a strong return, because that this will be a very sad way to see a guy that I wouldn't say he was considered to be a guy that is right up the status of what we see Diego Valeri and Diego Chara is to this Portland Timber side, but he's damn close to that. He's been with this club for a very long time. He's anchored this back line for a very long time, and he's a guy that will definitely be remembered for a lot of Timbers fan, if this indeed is his final or the last game is his final game with the Portland Timbers, or indeed the last game was his final game as a professional footballer. And then lastly, moving on into the last news is that the Columbus Crew, they have announced that they will host Campeones Cup against Club America on September 25th at Lower.com Field. Now, what's interesting is that this is the same date as the US Open Cup final. So I wonder whoever organized this, whether if MLS kind of had to say to this, I wonder if this is they decide to organize this. There's another way to kind of downplay the U.S. Open Cup, and another way to trying to piss on the grave of the U.S. Open Cup, because we already know what's going on with that competition. And I said it before, and I'll say it again. I do feel like doing this Leeds Cup. I know that there has been kind of a change of opinion around the MLS community about how it feels like the Leeds Cup is amazing and stuff like that, and they started to also, some even said that they even ridicule some of the people that boycott this competition, and that they're, of course, are missing out. At the end of the day, obviously there's two ways to look at it. It's a very sticky situation where I do love the Leeds Cup. I love the craziness that it brought throughout this tournament, but I definitely will not forget the fact that this competition is one of the main culprit of destroying the US Open Cup. And again, the balance between heritage and also money and also excitement and entertainment is a very particular scale to trying to balance. And I really hope eventually MLS and Don Gabriel will work out a way to make sure to continue this precariously balance where teams can enjoy fans can enjoy the Leeds Cup, but it's not at the cost of the U.S. Open Cup. And I will say that in terms of this cup itself, I feel like eventually they're gonna have to move on from this one this one kind of game one off game, because this feels like it's kind of redundant now that we have the Leeds Cup, and also with the CONCACAF Champions Cup as well. So yeah, we'll see whether or not if this is maybe the last time we're gonna see a Campeones Cup. And it's also, again, highly suspect the fact that this is on the same day as the U.S. Open Cup final as well, and maybe even play at the same time as the U.S. Open Cup final. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of the news of the week episode. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of all these news, and if there's any news I didn't mention here on the board, let me know in the comments below as always. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.